Ripples by Jason Jackson. When I was a young man, and still happy, I used to throw clocks down wells. I'd set the hands to 12 for no reason other than symmetry, and I'd listen intently for the splash. A clock falls quickly, but those moments between the letting go and the landing, the tension of the silent fall, the inevitable release of the moment that the falling stopped, well, they were among the happiest of my life. This clock dropping, it was a perfect thing. And like most things, it was ruined by a woman. Evelyn was younger than me by 3 years. I fell in love with her on a train, the first time I'd seen her, although we lived less than 2 miles from each other. And within a month, we were engaged. She was sweet, rich, intelligent, a quiet beauty, and I was captivated beyond reason. Before Evelyn, I'd been at my leisure to saunter around certain shops I'd come to favour, selecting just the right timepiece, with just the right heft and just the right shine. And then I'd spend hours perusing my painstakingly compiled map of wells within the surrounding area, selecting one which I felt right. I'd dress with care. I'd pack a picnic. I'd smile as I pulled on my walking boots and placed the clock, wrapped in newspaper and tied with string, in my backpack. In short, I had fun. This all ended when I met Evelyn. I'll admit that for the first weeks of our romance I gave little thought to clocks or wells. Love hungers for attention, and I gave in gladly. But soon I was reminded in a none too subtle manner of what I was missing. Sitting in Evelyn's parents' parlour, making polite conversation and drinking milky tea, the huge, corner-standing grandfather clock struck midday, and I felt my heart skip a beat. I had been neglecting my passion. Not only that, I felt as if I were being unfaithful, and I was silent for the excruciating duration of the chimes, trying to decide whether I were being unfaithful to Evelyn by thinking of my clocks and wells, or quite the reverse. Whichever it was, by the time the final chime had died away, I had determined a course of action. I would let Evelyn share my secret. The next Sunday, we met at the train station, suitably attired for rambling. I had my backpack, my picnic, and a smile, albeit a nervous one. We were heading for a small copse on the outskirts of the next village, where there lay hidden a deep, ancient well, one which happened to be a favourite of mine, and which had already provided a watery grave for many a carefully chosen timepiece. We boarded the train, with Evelyn still blissful in her misapprehension that we were going for a stroll, nothing more. We chatted, held hands, and all the while I thought of the clock in my pack, the weight of it, how it would feel to hold it over the dark mouth of the well, how it would pull, and how Evelyn would watch me, how she would smile, how my pleasure would be doubled. We reached the well at midday, and I knelt to open my pack. Evelyn said that it was a wonderful spot for a picnic. "There is something I want to show you," I said, and I stood with a paper-wrapped timepiece in my shaking right hand. "But what is it?" she said, and I believe that she backed off from me just a little. "I want you to watch," I said, and I unwrapped the clock gently. "Come with me." She was a trusting thing, and she even took my hand. I have relived this moment many times, and I am convinced that I was innocent of all malintent. I merely wished her to share my pleasure, the way all lovers hope their lovers will. The well lay at the edge of the trees. Its walls rose from the ground to knee height, and there was a working winch bucket and no cover. Nowadays, alas, most wells are protected, but this was a more innocent time. I took the clock, and I worked the key until both hands pointed to 12. I felt Evelyn begin to speak, and I shushed her. Ritual is important. I held the clock out over the waiting darkness. I closed my eyes, I took a breath, and I let the thing fall. A moment. Bliss. Then the splash. And then the questions. And Evelyn's eager eyes, her words spilling over each other, her cheeks aflame, her hands in her hair, in mine, her eager dance as she stepped back from me and laughed. Wonderful, she said, utterly wonderful. I smiled and said nothing. But this is a marvel. What a thing to do. I take it you've done this before. Many times, I said. And you felt it too. Each time. That exquisite, I don't know what to call it, that tension as the thing falls, that release as it lands. Every time. But you must allow me to do it too. Did you bring another? I shook my head. Oh, selfish, she said. Selfish man. To keep this to yourself. The next time I'll bring my own clock. I'll hold it just as you did, and I'll let it drop. The tension must be a 1,000 times more exquisite when one is actually holding the thing. I could only nod. Inside, blackness. Pitch. A darkness I'd never felt before. I hadn't known what to expect, but I hadn't expected this. To have my passion stolen from me so thoughtlessly. To have not a sharing, but a usurping. For her to take my love and call it her own. Insufferable. Here, I said, beckoning her to where I stood at the wall of the well. Come closer. If you lean over, you can still see the ripples.